Hi, I'm Holly Jean Harrison from the FinTech Times, and we are here at PAY360 with Robert Oxley. Robert, how are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Fantastic. How are you finding the show so far?
Really good, really good. Some really good content, great presenters, so it's been exciting.
Amazing. And before we get started into the questions, can I just ask you to give us a little bit of introduction to yourself and what you do?
Of course. So my name's Robert Oxley from Mastercard. I'm one of the portfolio leads within our product development and innovation arm, looking at a whole range of different topics. I have a wonderful team that's spread all over the world, so whether it be China, Kenya, US, we look at a whole different range of subjects and topics, but fundamentally we're looking at de-risking the introduction of new products and services to Mastercard, and it's something that keeps me on my toes and changes from day to day.
Amazing. Sounds very exciting stuff to be involved with.
It is.
Fantastic. So I know you're on a panel this morning about payments and moving into the digital age. I'd love to know what's driving this change.
So I think it's a number of different factors. COVID has had a really big impact on our move and our acceleration to digital, whether you're a consumer and you're using your phone, or whether you're a merchant and you have to sort of accept a digital electronic form of payment rather than cash. So I think a combination of those two, and then you have underpinning all this sort of additional infrastructure, the interest within real-time payments from a number of different governments, and then you have also the fintechs who are sort of coming into the space. They're looking at connectivity, they're looking at data transfer, they're looking at sort of payments in a contextual and contactless scenario, and they're just driving competition and consumer choice. So there's a plethora of different elements that are sort of really driving the shift to digital, and it's just a wonderful journey to be on.
Amazing. And how has Mastercard evolved its business in light of these changes?
Yeah, so I've had the benefit of being at Mastercard for 10 years, and I've seen a real fundamental shift in the way we think around payments. So I think when I first joined, I remember my father saying to me, "Why are you joining a credit card company?" And I was like, "That's a good question. Why am I joining a credit card company?" And I wasn't, right? Fundamentally, we provide that infrastructure and those solutions for the banks and the issuers who issue the credit cards and the debit cards, et cetera, et cetera. But the narrative within Mastercard has changed from being a card provider, a facilitator, to being a digital and technology company. And I think that sort of fundamental shift in narrative and the way that they look at things from a technology perspective and a digital perspective is now embedded across the organization. We don't talk about debit, credit, prepaid, commercial. It's just the digitization of all those products. So it's more around tokenization, it's around cyber intelligence, it's around data and insights. And we're sort of using all those inputs to understand, how is the consumer reacting to what they're seeing in market? How is that sort of driving their experience? What are the use cases that have been driven by digital? And how can we as a company help our partners to innovate in this space? And as I said, look, we work with a wide range of different entities. So it could be banks, it could be governments, it could be fintechs, but fundamentally through those customers we get to the end user.
Amazing stuff, amazing. And I guess if we're in this digital age right now, what's next?
I think it's already creeping in, right? I think digital and data are already hand in hand. And I think sort of the idea that we'll become more data driven is just now, at least from my perspective, a given. Now we'll have to sort of catch up on what that means, but if you look at the consumers, right? You now go into, this morning we were talking about Waitrose and Lidl, right? We can use biometrics to unlock that payment experience, right? So it's data. How do we sort of pass that data? How do we make sure that it's secure end to end? How do we ensure that it's encrypted? How do we ensure that your credentials fundamentally are protected? So I think that's the first nugget. That's the foundational building block on which we're sort of building everything else on. So safe and secure and trustworthy is what we're looking to do. And then sort of on top of that, it's the additional data elements. So I think in a future, Mastercard could be talking about being a technology company, but also a data-driven company. And using the data that we gain from our flows, we can look at propensity modeling, we can look at new algorithms, we can look at understanding, what are the insights that we're getting from transactional behavior, whether it be card, account, or alternative payment method, and looking at sort of reacting to that or getting on the front foot and driving that forward to sort of really enhance innovation and new product development.
Amazing. And I guess following on from that slightly, what are some of the big tech trends that you're seeing right now and how are they affecting the payments industry?
Yeah, I think sort of the big tech trends are, the first one that sort of we actually lose a lot of sleep around is around regulation and this idea of localization. So if I look at markets that are effectively locked for us, so if you look at China, we can't go in there because we need to have data processing and data storage transfer in that market. If I look at Turkey, you need to have local processing requirements to do those transactions. And I look at Brazil, same sort of thing. So I think this sort of idea of governments and central banks becoming or taking more of an interest in payments is something that is being driven by digital. They're seeing that there is a way for them to sort of get into the space through real-time payments, through QR codes, through the promotion of fintechs who are looking to solve the pain points in that market. They want to sort of understand how they can become part of that infrastructure, how they can, again, drive innovation, put consumer benefit to the end user, reduce fees and increase competition. So that's the first one. I think sort of coupled with that, we're seeing a really big rise in alternative payment methods, as well as sort of fintechs who are sort of driving that, which I think is fantastic because it's sort of, again, if we look at the legacy players or the incumbents, which are the large banks, these fintechs are actually starting to challenge the paradigms, the traditional business models, and actually come up with new ways that are experience-led rather than product-driven, that sort of really change the behavior of ourselves as consumers, but also of merchants and others.
So you've already touched on this very slightly, and I have a feeling like I know what you're going to say, but what are some of the challenges that are facing payments at the moment?
I think the challenges facing payments, again, you're right, I have touched on it around localization, around sort of governments wanting to sort of get involved in whether it be central bank digital currencies, whatever it might be. I also see challenges around fragmentation, right? So as a service has become a bit of a buzzword for everything, whether it be software, infrastructure, data, banking, whatever it might be. So I think you have a number of different fintechs or small businesses or even large entities who are looking at this as a service element, and sort of that's leading to fragmentation. I think from our perspective, that's actually not a bad thing, right? Because we can sort of help and sort of support a number of different models and actually sort of react to a number of different pain points and concerns. So I think based on that, those are definitely one of the challenges. But I also see it as an opportunity. So on the acceptance side, on the acquiring side, what we're seeing through the rise of these fintechs is a different way of looking at how you can actually do acquiring. So very traditionally, we have the four-party model where you have your bank, I have my bank, we have a scheme in the middle. But now we're seeing these new players who are coming in to be software vendors or payment facilitators or gateway providers. And you're seeing a new form of commerce that isn't necessarily in-store or online, but everywhere. So this omni-channel commerce piece, which has been facilitated by these new entrants, is really interesting. It's leading to fragmentation, but as I said, from our perspective, from my perspective, that's a good thing because it's bringing new experience, it's bringing new payment methods, and fundamentally it's challenging us to help our customers to enable innovation.
Amazing, amazing. And I guess finally, I'd love to know if you had any advice or tips for people working in payments or new entrants to the industry. What's your best sort of go-to advice here?
I mean, it's sort of a wonderful time to ask that question given what's happening in the banking sector. I think sort of if you look at what's happened in America, we now have 40,000 businesses who don't have a banking partner. And these are, owners who are passionate about their business, who have sort of spent time, money, sacrificed wealth to sort of do this. And now they have obligations to employees, they have obligations to their family members. So I think sort of the ask is sort of how can we actually look at onboarding these small businesses in a, not necessarily a faster manner, but definitely in an accelerated manner where you can work within the confines of your risk office, but you are actually bringing them on board and actually providing them with the products and services that they need, because there is, I think, a needs requirement there which isn't being met, and therefore being able to sort of allow them to really follow their passions and promote their products. So I think that's like slightly off topic. I think in terms of payments advice, if you're passionate about payments, I mean, it's a great time to be in payments. There is so much going on, whether it be crypto, whether it be card payments, whether it be cyber, security, tokenization. The value chain has dramatically changed, and we're seeing new elements pop up all over the place. So if you have a view, a product, an idea, go with it, run with it. Hopefully you'll get the funding for it, and try to build that but build it sort of starting from a manageable chunk. Do the testing, get the research, and then continue to build. Don't focus on expansion too quickly. I think this is sort of one of the elements that a lot of fintechs have been under the cosh for. It's around, okay, now you're going to have to look at short-term profitability based on a really strong product, rather than looking at long-term roadmaps and expansion, because you probably won't be able to do the latter, but you will be able to do the former if your product is well-researched, well-crafted, and well proven out.
Amazing stuff. Well, Robert, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.